G'day guys, and welcome back to Venturing. I'm Steven, and in today's video we are going to be installing a 200 amp hour lithium battery. Now this lithium battery is from Custom Lithium, and full disclosure, I've purchased this battery out of my own money. Custom Lithium have not sponsored this or paid me to say anything about this, so you will get my honest opinion on this battery and also what I've found with the whole process of dealing with this installation. This particular kit I've purchased from Custom Lithium is specific to the N80 Hilux, where you actually install the battery behind the rear seats. Now the reason why I wanted to do that is to keep the weight of the battery forward in the chassis and central, and also use that really unusable space behind the rear seats. There's not a lot that you can fit in there, and I thought, well, I've seen other guys do it, why can't I do it? So when I found Custom Lithium and their solution where you can buy a bracket kit as well as and fit a 200 amp hour lithium, yes, 200 amp hours behind the rear seat, I was like, that's a no-brainer, I've got to get it. Now for those people who don't understand battery technology and what the differences are out there in the market, typically you've got really two options for four drives. One is AGM, or otherwise known as a deep cycle battery, and two is lithium. Now lithium batteries over the past number of years, well, when they first came out they were really expensive. I remember looking at them for my previous Hilux and they were, you know, 3-4 grand plus, which just wasn't feasible for me back then. But in today's age, lithium batteries are actually a lot cheaper. Now let me rewind back a little bit. The differences between the two. One, AGM batteries, you've only really got half the capacity, or the half of the usable capacity. Now what I mean by that is if you've got a 100 amp hour AGM or deep cycle battery, you've only really got 50% usable. If you go beyond that 50%, sometimes you can actually cause damage to the battery. So that's the only downside with AGM or deep cycle, plus they are really heavy. And with lithium, you're actually able to use the entire capacity of the battery, where you say if you've got 100 amp hours for example, you can drain it all the way down to zero and charge it back up and you're hunky-dory. Lithium batteries are also a lot more lighter, and you've got a lot more power to weight ratio essentially. So to give you an idea, this setup that I'm putting in, this new one, is technically 4 times the capacity of what I've had previously. The other beneficiary of running lithium in this new setup and the capacity that I intend to have is I'll able to run big inverters. I'll even be able to run induction cooktops, obviously once I've got that inverter, so that will negate me having to carry any gas at all and just purely rely on electric. Plus, that's one less thing that you have to carry when you go camping. Now you're probably wondering what the cost of such a kit is. Now with Custom Lithium, you can jump on their website, select the N80 kit, select your battery. I opted for the battery that's got a 380 amp BMS. It's only an extra 50 bucks or so, and it just allows you just that little bit more power output for when you're running the inverter or any other high current loads on the battery. And you've also got options to select red arc chargers on there. Obviously with this particular kit it is suited to red arc. I personally just went with a BCDC 40 core. I found there's no absolutely real reason for me to go with a classic because the charger is actually going to be mounted in the cab. The differences between the core and the classic red arc chargers. Now the classics, or the original ones, allow you to pretty much mount the thing anywhere. It can be mounted in the front where it's exposed to weather, dust, mud, all that sort of stuff, whereas the cores are only able to be mounted within the cab or in a canopy where it's in a enclosed environment. That's the differences between the two. In my case, obviously, since I'm mounting the charger in the cab, there's really no reason for me to go with a classic version. So that's why I went for the core version. Now the other thing with these Custom Lithium kits is they do have a Victron smart shunt and little display. You do have the option to just go Bluetooth only. I just went with both because it is sometimes nice to just have a little gauge that you can just check without having to pull out your phone, open up the app and whatnot. Obviously the app will be a lot easier and quicker to use to look at that key information on the performance of the battery, information such as like how much amps are going in, how many amps are going out, etc, etc. So without further ado guys, let's get into the install. Alrighty guys, I've obviously ripped out the rear seats and I've sound deadened and applied a bit of insulation. Now the reason why I did this was, look, I might as well do this whilst I've got the rear seat out, and you know, by the time I mount up the battery tray and everything else, I'm probably not going to get another chance to get behind there unless if I pull everything out, which is going to be an absolute mish. So here comes the next daunting part. Is drilling some holes for the cables from the primary battery to run under from the battery under the chassis rail and then back up and then up through here. And then also I'm going to drill a couple more additional holes in case for future provisions. So I've just picked up these little rubber grommets from Repco. So they are a 19mm hole, so drill a 19mm or 18, start off at 18 and then just check that it fits. If it fits, all good, then drill it out to 19 if it doesn't. And then I'm just gonna apply some hot dip gal rust in a can just to help it not rust out. But before I do that, I'll tape up the area so I don't make an absolute mess of it. So here goes nothing. Alrighty guys, it's actually day 2 now of this installation. So here it is here. This is the update. Got all the sound deadening and insulation in, and just starting to test fit these brackets now. So obviously this is the bracket for the BCDC side, where obviously the BCDC mounts up like that. But the issue I'm currently dilemmaing about is the bracket for the battery. Now the backing plate rests up against here, this brace here, and down the bottom, and then rests on this little tabby thing, obviously to clear the battery here. But the issue I'm facing is this cabin vent. If it's not pushed in like that, the plate can't sit flush up against it, and thus it will be on a slight angle. So I'm going to reach out to Custom Lithium and see what they say, what I have to do about this. Worst case, if I do have to leave it loose like that, what I'll do is just run silicone and just bump this up. The only issue by me doing that is then this vent is actually resting up against the tub just behind it. So yeah, but for now I'm just gonna mount that side up, mount the BCDC side and the Anderson outputs and whatnot, and then also just run extra cabling. This is the cable coming in from the primary battery, so I've already ran that. I ran that last night in the dark, so I couldn't really film too much of it. But yeah, gonna run a cable out to the tub behind, and then another cable down the footwells into the front to run the dash cam and radio and USB socket out the front. That's always going to be coming off this. So yeah, bit to do. I'm not going to bore you now by continually filming everything. I'll just time lapse and let's get into it. the phone to Custom Lithium in regards to this air vent, and what they said is when they do their installations, they actually remove this entire vent and then put a clear film over it to stop dust and stuff coming in. So that's a solution how they get around it, but obviously they must have to destroy this to get it out, because otherwise you're going to have to remove the tub, because you can't push it out and then remove it, so it looks like you're just going to have to cut it out. But for now, what I'm going to do is just install the riv nuts for the bracket and just test fit the battery up and just see how she looks. The battery test fitted in. Obviously I haven't fixed up that cabin vent, but I just wanted to test fit it and make sure everything's all good. You still get to those plugs down in there if needed, and just cut these straps up. I'll just fold them up sort of like that and zip tie them out. But one thing to note with these batteries, I did confirm with Custom Lithium, there's no correct way or orientation of mounting these, whether positives on the bottom or top or negative down the bottom. I'm just sort of going off their reference image on their website. However, with my OCD, I wanted the positive down the bottom and negative at the top, but their stickers were placed on the opposite end, so like that one was upside down here, and then the warning label one was sort of like down here. So yeah, but so far so good. That's not going anywhere, literally rocking the entire bus. Got the BC-DC mounted up there as well, and now it's time to start mounting other little shenanigans. Now you're probably wondering how I'm going to get the power from the cabin into the tub. Now there's actually a little bit of a hole or a void or a channel that you can run a cable in. It only came to me when I was running the wiring harness for the canopy. There's actually a little hole in the top corner which runs down to almost like the front of the wheel, and then that's where I can run the cable up and through and then out here and then to the back. So I just got a bit of a tongue here, and I'm just going to shove that in there, and hopefully I can get it to a point where it's down the bottom, that I can then feed this back up. And that's not going to work, it's too thick, so I'm going to have to find something else. Here we go, one wire ran all the way through, and this is actually the control box that I'm going to install in the canopy here. It's a Krimped 12 volt control box. Got USB-C, USB, two 12 volt sockets, dual USB and a voltage meter, and all these switches you can wire into anything you wish. So eventually I'll have like canopy lights and maybe a few other switches for whatever may be installed in here. Anderson in and out, and yeah, I'm probably going to just be mounting this up against the wall there maybe, or up against the ridge, not too sure yet, but that's the control box. If you're wondering where you can pick one of these up, you can get them from outbackequipment.com.au. I'll leave a link in the description below. Alright, it's time to mock up exactly how I want to mount all my fuses, obviously my negative bus bar and my shunt. So there's not a lot of room here, so this is why I'm doing it outside of the ute, because it's just going to be a lot more easier. But you can tell the battery is nice and snug there. So I'm just going to play around here and just come out with a configuration that I like. Whether or not the shunt goes at the top there, it's probably a little bit too tight, so I might have to bring it down a little bit there. The negatives bus bar there. May have to swap the input, because that is a very short run, so I may have to swap that to the top, but I'm just going to have a play around here and see what I can do. initially I'm not gonna have 6 outputs of the positive, but I got 6 just in case for future proofing, so I just need to add another one ready to go. Got the negative bus bar there, and then the Victron shunt. So the idea is have your positives coming out here, and then the negatives I'll sort of like try and keep it nice and clean and then run like that and then out. So yeah, I think I'm pretty happy with that. So what I'm going to do now is remove all this, then drill some holes, and then put some riv nut or cap nuts in, and then I'll just be able to screw everything down, and then if needed I'll be able to take stuff off and then re-screw it down if needed. So I'm going to get into that. Forgot to mention that I'm going to put the input of the bus, of the MIDI fuse bus, I'm going to put the input lead there, so you know, the bus bar will sort of sit like that, and then I'll just run a wire up on the inside here into that. Hopefully I'll be able to squeeze one in there, because there's not a lot of space considering that's the nut there, so no, we should be alright, we'll make it happen. Alright, update in this air vent situation. Now obviously Custom Lithium said to put a film over it, or what I was thinking was pushing the vent in and then siliconing up. I was like, nah, that's probably not the best long term. So what I've done is use your own imagination, and I removed it, aka destroyed it. Anyway, so the idea is I got just a bit of scrap aluminium, is I'm gonna pop that there and run a bead of silicone around here, and then that will properly seal it up. And then what I'll also do is just pop rivet, 4 pop rivets there, and that will be going nowhere. Alrighty, plate is in now. I didn't do the bottom one. I pre-drilled the hole in the alley, but didn't drill the hole in the body, only because it was very, very close to the edge of the lip, so I've just opted for the 3. And to be honest, this is probably very overkill for what it needs to do, but I just know it's done properly, and it's not just going to be this flimsy film sort of stuff that can, you know, potentially come off. So it's gone nowhere, mate. So it is day, I think, 3 of this install. I've lost count, but now is the time to terminate everything and wire everything in. So I'm going to start probably from the front of the vehicle and then work my way this way. So I'm going to start on the bonnet, fuse up the input lead, but leave it disconnected from the primary battery so this won't turn on at all, and then yeah, start working on all this sort of stuff over here. So again, I'm not going to bore you guys with a full video. I'm just going to run through a time lapse, and then I'll check in with you guys once it's all complete. Alrighty guys, apologies about the very harsh lighting. It is obviously at night, but this install is fully wrapped, fully smoke tested, aka everything works. There's no smoke, no bangs, no nothing. Got power to the front of the vehicle where I've ran a cable to the front for dash cam radio, got power there. Also got power in the tub for fridge and whatnot, and then I've obviously got power back here. But yeah, an absolute mission of an undertaking, but I'm glad I've done it because now everything is prepped and set for expansion, including you can see the 2 solar inputs there indicated with the red Andersons. Just future-proofed it a little bit. Obviously there will be a couple more times where I do have to rip out the rear seat for, say, like an inverter once I get one, but for now this vehicle is set for 200 amp hours of lithium battery, which I'm really stoked about. It's my first time running lithium, so it's going to be really interesting to see the characteristics of this build. But yeah, if you got any questions at all, guys, in relation to what I've just done today, yeah, feel free to hit me up in the comments. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions that you've got. I just want to put a disclaimer on the end of this video, guys, to say that I'm not a professional 12 volt installer or a licensed electrician. I'm just a keen guy who understands 12 volt, but always get your work double checked if you're not too sure. In my case, you would have seen my old man in the last bit of that time lapse at the end there wearing the high vis. He is a licensed electrician, so he just ran his eyes over everything and he was happy as Larry, and also helped me out with the last couple of terminals. So yep, that's it, guys. Until then, peace.